Good afternoon and welcome everyone. First of all, thank you so much for joining us today for today's webinar. My name is Ishmeet Kaur and I'm Senior Product Manager from Bhargav Phytolab, and it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to the iSampark webinar series, an initiative of Bhargav Phytolab. We have a special offer for the day for all the doctors, fellow doctors that we have here. This is, as you can see on your screen, the offer is on Spondent Drops, which is a product for cervical spondylosis. And for any information related to place order or regarding the offer, you can contact us on 9599969785. Bhargav Phytolab is a 100 years old Indian multinational company. Today, we are not only present in India, but we are also present across the globe in and around 33 countries. And we have taken homeopathy to those different countries. Today, we are pioneering in corporate activities. I would just like to take few minutes of yours to describe, to mention what all activities we are doing today to increase homeopathy. First among all is the iSampark webinar series, which is an initiative of Bhargav Phytolab for all the homeopath doctors, wherein we conduct webinars just like today. We conduct webinars for homeopathic doctors on scientific topics. We do conduct Facebook live sessions also on general topic on common disorders which are highly prevalent these days in the society. This is for the general public so that we can increase more and more number of patients with homeopathy with the help of your doctors. Bhargav Phytolab salutes Corona warriors. We salute all the homeopath doctors who have gone ahead and served the nation in this tough time. We also provide online digital platform with the name GoDoc. GoDoc is India's first homeopathic platform wherein it is a digital way to connect patients to doctor and doctors to doctors. For more information, you can contact us. We also have a booklet series with the name Beyond Practice, wherein it is a continuous medical education booklets. We take one topic, it's a quarterly booklet wherein one scientific topic is being discussed and shared with you all doctors. And we also place case studies from you all doctors wherein you can share it with us. So before we go ahead, I would just request you all to take a few minutes for us and to see what exactly we are. This is our manufacturing plant at Bhiwadi, Rajasthan. So this is all with what exactly we are. Now I would, without taking further time, I would like to introduce Dr. Rahul. Dr. Rahul Singh is a medical advisor with us, and he's worked associated with Bhargav Phytolab since last 8 years. So Dr. Rahul, over to you. Thank you so much.
Hello,
Yeah.
thank you, Smith. Hello, everyone. Good evening to everyone. Myself, Dr. Rahul Singh, and want to discuss something about Bhargav Phytolab. As all of you know that Bhargav Phytolab is the oldest homeopathic drug manufacturing company, and in this year we have completed 100 year of our foundation, and we have a large portfolio, and we are doing export our medicines in more than 30 countries. So you can say that in homeopathy there is no unmatched quality of except Bhargav Phytolab. So we have large range of products like mother tinctures, dilutions, biochemics, combinations, single remedy trituration tablets, single remedy gels, homeopathic complex tablets, homeopathic minims, syrups, ethical tablets, drops, ointment, oral care products, external care products. pellets, and food supplements. Smith, next slide. Next slide, please. So here I want to discuss about our pain management portfolio. We have a large range of product for or related to orthopedics. We have OsteoStrong for osteoporosis. We have Arthral tablet for arthritis. We have Lumboral tablet for lumbar spondylosis and low back pain. Then we have Spondin, the famous product of Bhargava. I think everyone know about this. It's a liquid medicine for cervical spondylitis and spondylosis. Then we have Uricocin for uric acid, back pain for pain in the back, CRT drops for sciatica, Arnin for arthritis and pain in small joints. Then we have pain for muscular rheumatism. Then we have Lumbonin for low back pain and Romoel for external application. So in Romoel we have two type of presentation. One is in oil form and second is in roll-on. So in homeopathy we can say कि भार्गवा जो है एक सबसे पुराना नाम है और जैसा अभी हमारे प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा है कि हमें डोमेस्टिक जो कंपनीज हैं उनको इम्पोर्टेंस देना चाहिए. तो लोग अभी तक ये सोचते थे कि जर्मनी की मेडिसिन अच्छी होती है, पर मैं यहाँ एक बात बताना चाहता हूँ कि वी आर डूइंग एक्सपोर्ट टू मोर देन 33 कंट्रीज. हम इंडिया के अलावा दूसरे देशों में भी मेडिसिन भेज रहे हैं. तो यू कैन मेजर कि हमारी क्या क्वालिटी होगी जो हम इतने देशों में सप्लाई भी कर पा रहे हैं. और एवरी होम्योपैथिक मदर टिंचर डाइल्यूशन एंड एवरी प्रोडक्ट इज मेकिंग बाय फॉलोइंग द HPI, होम्योपैथिक फार्मेकोपी ऑफ इंडिया. तो जो उसमें सारे स्टैंडर्ड्स हैं हम उनको फॉलो करते हुए और उस क्वालिटी को मेंटेन करते हुए वी आर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ऑल दीज प्रोडक्ट्स. So here I will not take your much time, and I would like to invite the most energetic Dr. Yashika Arora, जो आज हमें स्पॉन्डिलाइटिस और स्पॉन्डिलोसिस के बारे में बताएंगे कि कैसे हम होम्योपैथी मेडिसिन से स्पॉन्डिलोसिस और स्पॉन्डिलाइटिस जो प्रॉब्लम्स हैं उनको हम ट्रीट कर सकते हैं और उनमें क्या क्या मेडिसिन हमारे लिए फायदेमंद है. तो आई वुड लाइक टू इनवाइट डॉक्टर याशिका अरोड़ा.
Thank you so much, sir, for inviting me, and a very big thanks to the whole Bhargav Phytolab team, Ishmeet ma'am, Rajneesh ji, Rahul sir, and everybody associated with Bhargav for giving me the opportunity to present my experience with cervical spondylitis and giving me a platform to present myself in front of the audience as well as the team of Bhargav. So without wasting any more time, I would like to begin the presentation. I hope my screen is clear to everybody. So today we'll be discussing the homeopathic management of cervical spondylitis. I'm Dr. Yashika Arora, and I'll be discussing on this topic, cervical spondylitis. But before beginning, I would like to introduce you to the difference between spondylosis and spondylitis. Actually, whenever you're studying spondylosis or whenever you are going through a case of spondylosis or spondylitis, the first thing which comes to the mind is what is actually the difference between spondylosis and spondylitis. Being a physician, one must be full-fledged one must have full-fledged knowledge about the practice of medicine as well as differentiating between the diseases. So I would like to tell you that the first thing is spondylitis. Spondylosis is also known as spinal arthritis and is common. It is actually an age-related condition which affects joints, discs in your neck or your back. Whereas when you talk about spondylitis is itis word. Itis itself means inflammation. So when actual inflammation occurs, so that is known as spondylitis. Spondylitis is an inflammation of any of the joints between the vertebra of the spine, wherever it is affecting, like cervical nerves it can affect, or the lumbar vertebra. So in the vertebra of the spine, wherever you get inflammation, that we can term as spondylitis. And osteoarthritis, RA, or ankylosing spondylitis. So this is the difference between spondylosis and spondylitis. Today we'll be discussing the normal cervical spondylisis, normal age-related condition that affects the joints and the disc and the cervical vertebra of the spine. So the next slide we come to is what is actually cervical spondylisis. We'll discuss cervical spondylisis. It is degenerative arthrosis of cervical spine affecting the intervertebral disc and posterior intervertebral joints. It is characterized actually by pain and stiffness in the neck. There will be pain, there will be a stiff neck with various sensory or motor symptoms which is being seen in the upper limbs. Why is it seen? How is it seen? We'll discuss further. So you can see the normal anatomy in the picture, normal cervical spine anatomy. And when you have cervical spondylisis, what occurs is the bulging disc. The cervical spine, the disc bulges out, and there may be formation of bone spurs, or the space between the two discs becomes narrow. It narrows down. So this is what happens in cervical spondylisis. Spondylisis of another type is lumbar spondylisis, where the degenerative arthrosis of the degeneration occurs in the lumbar spine. Again, that would be pain and stiffness in the lower back and in the small of the back and in the lower limbs. You can see the same thing, lumbar spine, when it's being affected, there may be a formation of herniated disc. It bulges out. There may be formation of bone spurs. There may be degenerated disc. There may be degenerations which may occur in the disc. So then we have cervical spondylitis. When we have cervical spondylitis, it is actually the inflammation of cervical spine, cervical vertebra, where we have vertebra affected by inflammation. So there you can see in the X-ray that there may be features which may be seen as osteophytes or bone spurs may be seen, and there will be bulging would be much higher, and there would be redness, there will be inflammation which will be seen extreme pain. There are many other disc problems as well, which we can see here, which can occur, like degeneration may occur, bulging out may occur during the cervical spondylisis or lumbar spondylisis, or there may be herniation which can occur. The disc may become thin, or there may be osteophyte formation. There may be bone spurs which may be seen in the cases of cervical spondylisis or lumbar spondylisis. So before I begin with the homeopathic management and the case discussion of cervical spondylisis, which I'll be discussing in the further webinar, I would like to just you about the cervical spondylisis in very short, that what is actually cervical spondylisis. And being a physician, first you should know the part of actually what it is, what the disease is about. Then only you can solve it accordingly and resolve it to cure. So we'll be discussing in short about cervical spondylisis. Cervical is derived from Greek word that is cervical, that means neck is being affected, and spondylo means vertebrae are being affected. So we have the presentation as pain in neck, or there is the neck is full of trouble. The neck full. The word being is said is neck full of trouble. It is. We have already seen that it is a common age-related condition which affects joints, discs, in cervical spine. And due to the aging process, due to wear and tear of these cartilage, these bones and the vertebra, so this condition occurs, and usually it affects more than 90% of the people aged to 60 years and older. The further it is about the features, it has a very slow and progressive course, develops gradually, progressively. The spinal disc become dehydrated, they degenerate, they develop cracks in between, they develop herniation, bulging out of the disc occurs, or the formation, ultimately the formation of bone spurs or the formation of osteophytes. You can see I just named that it also affects the arms. It has features. It presents in the upper limbs as well. So why it happens? Because the cervical nerve supply these nerves supply the arms, like you can see wherever this neck region is being supplied by C2 and C3 nerve, and then we have the shoulders being supplied by C4, then C6 is being supplying the arm of the patient, the deltoid area, then we have C5 in the elbow region, and then we can see the hands are also being supplied by the cervical nerves. So what happens is these supply when these nerves, cervical nerves supply, so the symptoms which occur can be seen in the upper arm as well. So whenever you see a case of cervical or any cervical spondylisis, so you find features like they have a pain in neck, and that is being radiated to the arm, that is being coming to the upper arm, they are even that is even coming to the hands. So this is because of the supply of cervical nerves which occurs, and brachial neuralgia occurs because of this reason. So फिर accordingly you need to manage because of the nerve supply. That is actually the cause of cervical spondylisis. The cervical vertebra is being affected, and the cervical nerves which are supplied, they present symptoms in those areas as well. We have this prevalence and incidence. You can see how is the age distribution of patients with cervical spondylisis, though it affects men and women both equally. But then it occurs in men in the earlier age compared to the women. You you can see this how are the male and female being affected. The incidence is the highest in both when it's compared with between both females and females. In the age group, maximum is seen as 41 to 50 years of age group. We can see the maximum cases of cervical spondylisis due to wear and tear and the aging process. So we have etiology, how it occurs. It has many reasons due to the faulty posture, due to already we discussed aging process, faulty posture, sitting long, standing long, sitting for hours, for people who do desk work while sitting on laptop or having desk work. You can see for the repetitive stress, if the mental status of the person is also in stress, then also he can develop cervical spondylisis. If he's living a sedentary life, if he's a obese patient, in fact the heredity also affects if there is a family history of cervical spondylisis, or the injury even progresses the disease. If there is an injury to the to any of the bones or any region around, so that can also lead to cervical vertebra. Or in fact, if a person carries overweight or heavy weights, or there is overuse of the overuse of spine, so that can also lead to cervical spondylisis. So this is what is etiology, and usually the presenting symptoms which come to clinic to a physician is patient may say he's having pain in the neck or the occipital cervical region, the back region, you can see, or he'll say this pain is coming here and then radiating to the shoulder blade, and then it is going along the arm, or it may reach even the fingers. And this sensation may be aching pain. He'll have extremely aching pain, or he will say he's having a band like sensation as if he's filled with there's a band around, or he'll say such symptoms, he'll present with such symptoms. He'll say he's having a stiff neck, he cannot move his neck, or he's having difficulty when he tilts his neck, or he tilts his neck backward. So these are the things, or he's long standing, long sitting. So you can see is ki aggravation occurs on standing, aggravation occurs on sitting. So these are the symptoms which you will find commonly in a cervical spondylisis patient. There may be restricted neck movements. He'll have pain. He or she will have pain while moving the neck, or if there is a chronic cervical spondylisis going on, so you can see whenever he'll have an acute exacerbation or an episode of cervical or pain or vertigo or dizziness, he'll also experience some restricted neck movements. He may have numbness. He may have numbness in the arms, even in the hands, or some of the tingling sensation you may feel in the finger, in the little finger or in the thumb. Wherever the supply of cervical nerves is there, you may find these symptoms. There may be vertigo, there may be giddiness, dizziness, which patient may feel due to cervical spondylosis. He may also have, in the extreme conditions, the patient may also have some of the features like loss of balance. He may find difficulty in managing his balance, or he may lose his bowel or bladder control also. But that occurs in very much extreme cases where are other conditions also involved. So you may find these symptoms, which you can see in a cervical spondylosis patient, and the signs we've already discussed. There may be crepitations even whenever the neck is moving. You may hear even that there are crepitations which are occurring whenever the patient comes to you of cervical spondylosis. If he is having difficulty in the neck movements, he can also present with muscle wasting, usually in the arms or in the upper limbs. That is also a late symptom which is being seen. But then this restricted neck movements will be mainly seen because of the rigidity of cervical muscles. Because of the cervical vertebrae is affected, so cervical muscles would also become rigid. They'll have spasm, so that may also lead to restricted neck movements. So we have next is how to diagnose a cervical spondylosis patient. Usually, what we do is clinical examination. We test the reflexes, we test the muscle weakness or the motion of the neck. You may also go for imaging tests, CT scan, X-ray. X-ray is one of the good tests which can be done, MRI, myelogram, electromyogram, and further studies can be done. So we have X-ray features which we'll see. You can see how the X-ray is being seen in the picture. You can see how degeneration occurs. The X-ray will show a narrow disc space in the case of a cervical spondylosis. The early feature which occur is the narrow disc space, and the normal lordosis, the normal presentation of the spine would also be affected. It would become curved. It would be lost. Actually, there may be in extreme cases in the X-ray you may see osteophyte formation, or in fact in the later stages these osteophytes may even be seen in the intervertebral foramen, with the foramen between the vertebrae. You may see if you get the X-ray of the cervical spine oblique view done, you can see the osteophytes present in the intervertebral foramen as well. In the myelography, you may also see a herniation of the disc. Herniation, that bulging out, will be seen in the myelogram. So yes, these are the features which one must remember whenever you're dealing with the case of cervical or get the X-ray done. So this is about cervical, and along with this normal or homeopathic management, we would first discuss how you can generally, because as a physician you need to cure the patient, you need to make the patient, you need to recover the patient. So restore the patient to cure, so you need to manage the patient at the general level as well. You need to advise as well as the homeopathic management. So general management includes you need to advise him, you need to guide him regarding the reduction of weight if he's obese. You need to tell him that why is it occurring, because of his posture or some or the other issues. So he need to maintain correct posture at work whenever he's working. And the diet which he should follow is plenty of cereals, fresh fruits, vegetables, and you should always advise him that he should avoid salt, sugar, or refined foods or saturated foods. So because these affect or these aggravate the condition. This is being seen in some of the studies that highly refined foods are not good for such conditions. You can also advise him to use hot water bag or ice pack if there is arthritic, if the patient is going towards cervical spondylitis condition. So you can use ice pack. When there is normal pain or stiffness, he can use hot water bag. We'll now study. I have searched for some of the exercises as a tip for everyone. so that you can use it in cases of cervical spondylitis. So these are some of the management features. You can ask him to have a support, a collar, neck collar, or you can also ask him to have cervical massage. But there are few strengthening exercises for cervical spondylitis. Like this is a posture which a person can follow, so he'll have a better response to the case. And this is a good. This is what it will help to recover soon. This is the second posture exercise which one can follow when he is affected with cervical spondylitis. You can see how the person is doing. So this can also be done. The posture 3 is this neck alignment exercise, which is a very good and has very good results. Where the person, what he does is they place the hand on the back of the head, and it chin ko he tucks in into the throat, and then the top then press the top of head up into the sky, and then he has to lengthen the spine. He'll lengthen the spine. He'll gaze at the horizon. He or she can look above. So that would also affect him and give a better response and give a good result. In such case, the ears, shoulders, and spine should also be able to align one another in a straight line. You should have everything in the straight line. The person should be stiff and straight and always focused on the horizon. This exercise is very helpful, neck alignment chin tuck exercise. This is also a good posture which is being seen as good in the cervical spondylitis cases. So this can in fact help out to recover better. And this is also one exercise which I was searching, so I got that this is also a very good posture. When the patient does this exercise, he can also have good results, earlier results, along with homeopathic management. So one can use these postural exercise while dealing with the cases of cervical spondylitis. So now we come to the complications of cervical spondylitis. If this cervical spondylitis is not being dealt properly or not being handled properly, or the symptoms are increasing day by day, then it can lead to few of the features like myelopathy may occur or radiculopathy may occur. But how it occurs, we'll see what is the mechanics behind it. Is first of all the disc desiccation which occurs, and which may lead to fibrous nucleus pulposus. The fibrous tissue will also be affected. Then the fiber integrity would be lost at last, and the disc would lose its height. It bulges out. It has loss of cervical. That leads to actually cervical lordosis. The cervical lordosis loss. The spine would become would not be in the same position as it should be. And then the fiber attachment to the bone also is lost, which ultimately presents with the bulging out of the disc, and that would lead to cervical spondylitis. And such mechanical factors, such things which continues for long, they may affect the other blood vessels of the body, or the nerves of the body, which may even lead to, if the infection leads to arteries and cause arteries, they may lead to ischemia. The veins may get affected, congestion, which may result in the congestion of veins. Or if the spinal cord gets affected, myelopathy may occur. And the nerve root is affected, radiculopathy. The most common two complications which are being associated with cervical spondylitis is myelopathy and radiculopathy. So the first, this is a compressive myelopathy which occurs wherein you can see the hands would become clumsy. There would be gait disturbance. You may see muscle wasting, or there may be fasciculation of biceps. There may be increase in muscle tone. You may see these features which you can find, especially the nerves which get affected is C6, C7, C5, C6. Wherever the supplies of C5, cervical 5 nerve, cervical 6 nerve, cervical 7 nerve, these, or in fact the fingers where the cervical 8 now is affects, so there will be increased tonicity. The muscle tone would be increased. Such features may be seen when the cervical spondylitis case progresses. In fact, the deep tendon reflexes may also be seen in exaggerated in the lower limbs, and you can see there may be features which you can see, like positive Hoffman sign is a good feature which is being seen in cases of myelopathy. Is a flexion of whenever the terminal phalanx of the thumb is flexed, the second and the third phalanges of other fingers, when that is like one of the middle fingertips is also flicking. They also flick together. So that is a positive Hoffman sign, which is being seen in myelopathy cases. And there are so many other things which you can see along with the cervical spondylitis case progresses. Or it may also result in radiculopathy if the nerves are affected, like C5 to nerve root compression may occur, and shooting pains, hyperesthesia, paresthesia, numbness, and such things may be seen, wherein reflexes may also be diminished at the level of biceps, at the level of triceps, or supinator reflex, or other features may be seen, and this would be segmental. This would be divided into segments in the whole upper limb. The affections would be segmental. So you can see such features when the disease is progressing. One must note all these conditions because you need, before prescribing to the patient, you need to diagnose the case first, and then you need to differentiate it from other features as well. Accordingly, the prescription can be done according to the stage of the disease, according to the affection, whether it's at the functional level, whether it is at the structural level. Accordingly, the patient is to be prescribed. So being a physician, one must always remember to have the complete knowledge of disease which we are dealing with. You need to differentiate it with other diseases as well, because similar symptoms can be seen in cases of motor neuron diseases or cervical disc prolapse, or in fact in the degeneration of cord, subacute combined degeneration of the cord. In fact, in the coronary artery disease, such features may be seen. So you must remember all these things before going to a case, or before reaching to a case, that you should be well versed with the medicine part, or practice of medicine part, or the disease part. So now we'll discuss the homeopathic management through a case of cervical spondylitis. Further, I will be discussing more of the medicines as well, which I have found useful in my practice till date, that have given good result in cases of cervical spondylitis. I would like to discuss this case. Around a year back, a 45 years male patient reported to me with the complaint of stiffness in neck. There was tearing pain in the neck, in the left shoulder, especially left shoulder blade, which was feeling as if it is sprained. And this pain usually used to reoccur every now and then since past 4 years. That means it was a chronic condition, and he was suffering since long. And he had acute exaggeration of such episodes of such pain. So he also used to feel dizziness, along with whenever he had dizziness or vertigo, he used to feel coldness in the head, and there was increased perspiration during that time. He also reported of episode of vertigo. He said he usually suffered from vertigo, and which used to whenever he used to rest, it used to worsen when he used to turn around in the bed, or it was a feeling that everything has gone to sleep, especially his head has gone to sleep, and there is something which is occurring, or vertigo happens whenever he turns in the bed. For example, he quoted an example that he recently had an episode, or around 2 months, 3 months back, that he had an episode of vertigo after his wife refused for sexual relations at one night. So this was a characteristic symptom which I noted, and Second, then he also complained of numbness. Sensation of numbness was there in the region of shoulder blades, especially over the left side. He was facing such things. So then he said ki whenever he has some episode, what he tries is he wants to lie down during the pain. He wants to lie down on the bed during the pain. So that time it's like he feels better when he lies down during the pain, but it aggravates whenever he turns up in the bed. There was aggravation. I noted the aggravation. The modalities said he had aggravation on moving his head, especially towards the left. Then he said whenever he used to raise his arms or there was exposure to any open air, a cold thing, he used to feel aggravation during that time. He also said that there was amelioration. He used to feel amelioration, or he used to feel better whenever he used to apply warm application, or there was hot water bag or some or the other warm application over the cervical region. So then I inspected the case further. I asked him if he was taking any treatment history. So he said he used to take conventional medicines, but there was no significant relief whenever now he has any episode of pain. So he usually take that medicine or whatever painkiller. So that moment he gets relief, but then after it is like it reoccurs again and again. So now presently he was only practicing yoga or some of the exercises, which I further helped him out he can improve, how he can improve those exercises. So the past history revealed that he also was suffering from hypertension since 6 years. He also said that he had a family history of rheumatoid arthritis. His mother had rheumatoid arthritis. Then further going into the case, I inspected, and it was like he had a craving for spicy food. Not much craving was there. It was 1+ in intensity. And then the characteristic which was found is, though his bowel and urination habits was normal, but suddenly he said that he was unable to urinate properly if someone was around. In fact, he said even if the door is closed, he was unable to urinate properly if he feels that somebody is around the washroom, or somebody is moving outside the washroom, or somebody is around. So he was like he couldn't urinate. In fact, he could even not defecate properly. He said at a moment that if someone was around, even if the door was closed. So that was a characteristic symptom noted by me. The personal history also doesn't reveal much. He was into a desk job since 10 years, and he was belonging to a middle class family. He had no much bad habits or addictions. Rarely he used to take any thing. So further going into the case, I inspected more over his journals, that is mental journals. Being a physician, knowing the diagnosis part, knowing the medicine practice of medicine part, knowing the disease part is very, very good. But at the same moment, you should know how to take the case well. So one must note all each and every feature during case taking, as told by Master Han, whatever guidelines have been given. Inspect this in full as in the full level, at the full level, so that nothing is being left. So I went into the detailed case taking, and then I inspected that the mental journals revealed that he said he has become dull. Nowadays he forgets whatever work he does. Sometimes he even forgets sometimes he even forgets some of the assignments he has done, or some of the accounts, or some of the things he has to cross verify, he has to cross check again and again. His memory has become dull since few months and years, for few months, and since 2-3 years, he said. And he also said that Nowadays, since few years, he is feeling that he has no inclination towards mental work. Especially, he had become indifferent. Sort of, he was like he doesn't trust in things. He has developed no pleasant feelings now, and some things have changed. I further inquired that why it happened, what is the cause, how it happened. There was something which happened 2 years back or 4 years back, 6 years back in your life, any incident, anything. So he said that there was nothing, only normal routine, but slowly and progressively he has developed some things, and now he finds no interest in things. He also said a marked feature, which I noted, that he had become superstitious nowadays. And he said he have some thoughts like, he if he don't touch the corner whenever he goes to the temple, if he doesn't touch the corner whenever he's going around, he feels that something bad is going to happen to him. So there was some superstitions and many other superstitions. He told me that this could happen or that could happen. So some of the superstitions we believe, superstitious beliefs. So he also developed those ideas, and this was not before. This is developed since few years. So this was a marked feature which was being noted. Another thing he said, these ideas already is making his life worse, and he has like very anxious because of it. As well as whenever he says, explains this to his wife or somebody else or whoever is around him, that also makes them in fact he compels them, or he forces them that you should you not do this, or this should happen bad to you, or this. So that was making life miserable of others as well, that was affecting others life as well. But at the same time, what he said, whenever he had a he was a person, he was very even if time came, even if he had a situation when he was deeply disturbed, he doesn't say anything to me. He doesn't disclose that to anybody. Though he becomes anxious, though he becomes disturbed at times, and cannot bear solitude at the same time, but he doesn't explain such things or his problems to anybody, because he feels that they won't have any result, they won't help him out, or things like this. The contradictory features which I was finding in the case was these things, that he was superstitious and he was deeply disturbed, anxious, and solid. But at the same time, he never used to explain his problems to others. And at the same moment, he said he was a very practical person, and he said he used to help everybody, help people, if they used to help him out. If a person was loyal to him, he was also loyal to him. And if another person used to help him, he used to help him too. In fact, he said, if it's the case of close friends or his wife, he is sometimes demanding as well. He said कि I usually demand for things, अगर मेरी wife is not listening to me, or my close friends are not giving me things which are up to the mark, or which I need, which I demand. So even if he is very practical at it, and he asks for whatever he wants. So the totality which I saw in this formed, there was stiffness in neck, especially in the left shoulder blade, which was noticed, vertigo, numbness, wants to lie down during pain, aggravation, moderation was also taken into consideration. He couldn't urinate properly if someone was around. He had dullness, he was developing forgetfulness, he had no inclination to work, he was anxious. During anxiety, he was not able to bear solitude. He couldn't bear to be alone. He wanted somebody to be around. So he would discuss, but yet he wanted to be somebody around. At the same time, he was a practical person. He was superstitious as well. So these things were being noted, and the And the case which I out of all these things which I focused and took the rubrics were this back stiffness, cervical region was taken, numbness, cervical region was taken, vertigo, turning in bed, aggravation was taken as a rubric, perspiration was taken as a rubric because he had coldness and perspiration. So he noted. I also noted forgetfulness, demanding, superstitiousness, solitude, aversion to, and work aversion to work. So these symptoms were being taken, and which the remedies which came into analysis were, you can see, the conium was there, Rustox was there, belladonna was there, phosphorus was there. Conium was covering covering 9 marks and 4 symptoms. Rustox was covering again 9 marks, 4 symptoms. Belladonna again 8 marks, 3 symptoms. So when I was searching over this, and when I went to the case and his life space and every mental journals and analyzing the case and evaluating as well, so I consulted Materia Medica and went to read conium and rustox and belladonna and phosphorus, all the major remedies which were coming in the case. And conium and rustox are very good, even in fact remedies for cervical spondylitis, belladonna as well. So when I was reading, so the things which I saw, I would exclude, I would like to exclude belladonna because when I was reading, though, belladonna was the mentals were not like belladonna at all. That was no mania, no violence, no nothing like such things. And in fact, the left side was affected. The affections were towards the left side majorly. Side affinity was there, and the major symptoms, throbbing pain, and such features of belladonna was not being seen in the case. So I excluded belladonna at that time. When I was studying for conium and rustox, so I studied conium and rustox from Dr. Vitulka's Materia Medica, and referring to other books as well. I was searching, so I studied in Materia Medica by Dr. Vitulkas, that such similar symptoms of couldn't urinate properly if someone was around, and finds interest in nothing, no inclination to work, forgetfulness, increased sweat, and becoming dull, aversion to mental work, and anxiety, feeling disturbed, still saying nothing to anybody, a very practical person. This was a very marked feature which I read it in Professor George Vitulka's book, Materia Medica, his 13 volumes. So I saw this, that it was written in conium that he's a very particular, practical person. You do good to him, he'll do good to you. You become loyal to him, he'll become loyal to you. Till the date you are loyal, he'll also be loyal. Till the date you are helping him out, he'll also help you out. The day you stop, the day that person will also stop. So such features I found in Materia Medica. And when referring to Boric, when referring to Clark, referring to Keynes, there is extreme stiffness in neck, coldness, increased perspiration, vertigo when turning around in bed, numbness, wants to lie down. Such features are already available in conium. So the modalities also differentiated it from rustox as well. So all such things pointed towards the Materia Medica, as well as the repertorization pointed towards conium, and the prescription made was conium 200, 3 doses were prescribed, followed by placebo. 3 doses usually in a gap of 10 minutes, I prescribed conium 200. So conium 200 was being prescribed to the patient. Conium 200 was prescribed to the patient, and imagine what was the result of this. I thought ki I'll be prescribing a low potency or the judgment was low potency, but then that was not a pathological case or or a chronic. It was a chronic case, but not to the level of pathology that could affect the patient much. So the prescription was made of conium 200, 3 doses, only 3 doses. I usually try to give minimum to minimum dose. So the first follow up was on 10th April 2019. He came that his pain and the stiffness was better, but no other relief, not in the mental part, not much better. It was only 10-20% better. I just left the patient on placebo because the medicine was still acting, because it was only a week which was being the medicine was being prescribed. So the person was left for placebo, and then he the next time, the second follow up which he came was after on his call. I was like, for a month you take placebo, because on call he explained that he was becoming better, though he was having less episodes of vertigo. Only 1 to 2 episodes of vertigo came during that time, and the pain and stiffness was also much better, and he could do the daily routine work better, and he was into desk job. He was trying for this yoga and exercises also, which was being told to him. So on 30th May when he reported, so he said that he recovered remarkably from stiffness in neck and pain in shoulder blades by about 80% he was better, and vertigo was also much better because he only had 2 episodes, and since 3 weeks so he had no episode of vertigo. When he was prescribed he was prescribed nothing, because the patient was because the patient was not at a saturation level, as well as the remedy was still acting, so nothing was being prescribed to the patient. On his third follow-up, he said he was much better, he was 90% better, and he had rarely an episode of vertigo. That was just an episode of dizziness in the month of June. So he was much better, and his complaints was also relieved. His overall betterment of the health in general, like his mental generals, his anxiety was also better. He was overthinking of superstitions and as well, so that also has become decreased. And now on the on when he was followed up, he was even no medicine. He was followed up in November 2019. He said he skipped coming to me for 2 months around. So he said that he was much better by in the November when he came back. For his child, he came back actually, just for the little cold cough. Then I just inspected how he was, how he had vertigo, how was the pain, how was the stiffness. He said there was no much stiffness, no much pain, no vertigo episode till date, and he was like he was feeling very happy, and he was very happy to see that he was into this job and he could manage things better. Now he was not doing anything, only normal exercises, not leg exercises, normal routine life, and he was living well. So conium 3 doses resulted in much betterment of his pain. So that was a good experience of mine with conium. What I deducted from the case was, being in a physician, what is the therapeutic aim of a physician while dealing with cases or any cases of cervical spondylisis? To correct the cause of the patient, to correct the modifiable cause, like he was into desk job, and you need to control the disease progress so that he doesn't develop myelopathy or radiculopathy or any other complications. At the same time, you need to preserve his joint function, you need to maintain the muscle strength. So all these things was to be done, and he was to be recovered so that he doesn't he is not affected in the further line. So now I would be discussing few of the other good remedies which I have seen, because the topic was homeopathic management of cervical spondylosis. In short, a few of the homeopathic medicines which I have seen in my practice as good is Lacnanthus tinctoria, which is one of the very good medicine, and I have got many cases becoming better with these medicine. Rustox, Ruta, Conium, Bellis, Spur Arnica montana, Bryonia. There are numerous major remedies which prove to be helpful in cases of cervical spondylisis. We have other common remedies also, like absinthium in vertigo, aconite in anxiety. Angostura vera is a very good remedy when you talk about if you want to give patient immediate relief, or you want to use a mother tincture or some remedy, or the patient is in acute pain. Belladonna, calcarea carb, capsicum, causticum is also a very good remedy, which is being seen, which I've used in right-sided pain, right-sided affections of cervical spondylisis. Smisifuga, Gelsemium, Naphelium is a good remedy. In fact, Guacum is a very good remedy. Kalmia, Lycopodium, Natrum miraticum, Nux vomica, Paris quadrifolia, Phosphorus, Phytolacca, Pulsatilla, Rustox, Sanguinaria, Theridion, Sticta. There are very good remedies which act good in the cases of cervical spondylisis. As per the case, as per the symptom totality, always prescribe the patient as per the symptom totality, whatever you form the totality as per the case. You can also use our intercurrent remedies when the patient comes to a state where he's not responding to the remedy, or where he has come to a saturation point, or he's not the actual simillimum is not resulting in good results. So you can use intercurrent remedies, like we have an osteoarthritic nosode that is very good at intercurrent. We can use thuja, we can use rhododendron, meadorhinum, syphilinum in cases of cervical spondylisis as intercurrents. This I have taken from the experience of Dr. V.K. Chauhan. His book states that these intercurrents can be used as good intercurrents during the cases of cervical spondylisis. So there was also an annual report of CCRH in 2001-2022, which concluded that calcarea floor, Simicifuga, Rustox are most effective for cervical spondylosis. Few of the major remedies which I described before, we'll discuss in short their features, which is which I have found in my practice very good. The Lactanthus tinctoria, that is a very good remedy for pain and stiffness in back. There is chilliness between the shoulder blades. There is right-sided pain, which may extend even to the jaw, and there may be torticollis. For torticollis, it is very good. There may be rheumatic symptoms around the neck. About the neck, for this Lactanthus proved to be helpful. Pain in nape of the neck, as if it's dislocated. It feels as if there is dislocation in the nape of the neck. So you can see such symptoms in Lactanthus. We have Rustox as well, which is a very good and a commonly used remedy for cervical or joint affections, that is vertigo when rising. The marked action of Rustox is on fibrous tissue, and the joints, all the tendons, sheets which produce pain, stiffness can be proved to be helpful in cases of wherever the patient presents with pain, stiffness, or there are ailments from overlifting, there is stiffness in the nape of the neck, or there is pain between the shoulders when you see, or there is the thing which differentiated in the case as well for me from conium to Rustox is he was better. The Rustox patient is better from motion or lying on something hard, and he's worse while sitting. So one should remember this thing, that the motion relieves the Rustox patient. Ruta is also a very good remedy which is being used for the pain in nape, back, loins, and better by pressure, lying on back. Usually aggravation occurs from cold, wet, stormy weather. It's a very good medicine for pains. It is being said the painful medicine, where there is the disease is progressive. The disease is slow in producing symptoms, and it is a chronic nature of the cases of a chronic nature. There you can use Ruta very well. For old neuralgias as well, it can be used. We have conium also, which I've dealt with many cases and found good results, which was the case as well. There is vertigo when lying down, when turning over the bed, turning head sidewise, especially towards the left. There is dull pain. There may be pain between the shoulders. There may be if you find a case where where the patient says that he had a bruise or a shock or a injury to the spine, or there may be ill effects after that, or the cases due to the shock or due to the bruise, or there may be any injury which may have occurred or to the spine, and after that the patient has suffered from cervical or lumbar spondylosis. So that you can then you can use conium. In fact, just remember, Dr. Clark has also mentioned a case of lumbago where he said that the symptom was cannot turn over in bed without being dizzy. He cannot turn. Whenever he turns, he becomes dizzy. So that patient of lumbago was being cured with conium by Dr. Clark. This is being quoted. This is a clinical tip which I am giving you. So just note this. We have also remedy like Belispar, which is a very good remedy after injuries, results of injuries, where the patient may have intense soreness if there's an injury to the neck or to the spine. So after that, if the patient is facing vertigo, headache, soreness, or there is inflammation to the nerves, or there is any injury to the backbone, then you can use such remedies. It's a good red line. It is a good remedy for a red line symptom, that is railway spine. The patient who have railway spine, so that means it has a marked action on the spinal cord. It has a marked action on the vertebra. So one must think of Belispar as well, and he's well after hot bath and warmth of the bed. So we have arnica, which is a very, very, very good remedy and usually common in practice while dealing with joint affections or injuries or rheumatism of muscular and tendinous tissue, especially of back, shoulders, pain in back. There may be pain in back as if the person is being beaten or bruised. There may be coldness, deathly coldness of forearm. The patient may feel the muscles have become weak, difficulty in moving them, head falls backwards, the head is falling backwards in the patient of arnica. You may see such symptoms that he feels that his muscles have become so weak that it falls backwards. There may be darting pain in the arm. The patient may feel pain because of the weakness, because of overworking, because of fatigue. There may be crawling sensation in the arms, which may be seen in the hands. In fact, Rustox, I forgot to explain. The Rustox also has a feeling of formication, as if the ants are moving over the hands. That is, or tingling sensation, you can say, in the Rustox is being present, which is also a feature of cervical spondylosis, which can be seen. And such symptoms must be noted. The characteristic symptoms, the PQRS symptoms in each and every case must be noted. Accordingly, the medicine must be prescribed based on the totality of these symptoms. Arnica is a very good remedy for cervical spondylosis. So this is all from my part. There are many and numerous medicines and numerous symptomatic remedies which can be used for cervical spondylosis as per the case, as per the totality, as per the case in hand, whatever you prescribe. But these are few of the remedies and few of the commonly used things which I have seen good in my practice for whatever according to the case. So if anybody has any queries, we can have a query section, a question answer session now. So I hand over to Ishmeet ma'am. We have Ishmeet ma'am and Dr. Rahul with us. So I think my part is over. Let's.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Yashika. It was really a very good session, and I would request other doctors to please ask questions.
I think we have first question from Dr. Tamanna. Tamanna Kesar wants to ask something. Dr. Tamanna, are you there? Dr. Tamanna. Okay, I think then Harsh has a question. Harsh. Okay, I think they're not there. Yes, any questions, anybody?
Yeah, we have a question, I think, from Dr. Smita.
Yes, please suggest something for lumbar spondylitis and having a history of cervical spondylitis.
Yeah, Dr. Smita, as per the case, like if the patient if the patient had a history of cervical spondylitis and then he's complaining of lumbar spondylitis as well, ki now the pain has been shifted to the small of the back or the lumbar region. So what you can see is this: you can note the symptoms that there may be pain, there may be stiffness in the neck region still there present, or there may be back affection only. So I think many of the remedies as per the case you can use, like we have ruta, we also have conium for that, we also have brinia, which is a very good remedy for lumbar spondylitis and cervical spondylitis. You can use as per the case taking. Any other questions?
We have a question from Dr. Harsh. He wants to know what is the role of simifuga and its totality in cervical spondylosis.
And there is one more question, doctor, the role of asset pos. If you can answer both of them.
Yeah. So we have, I think, from Dr. Harsh, he's asking role of simicifuga. What I have seen in my practice is role of simicifuga is a very good remedy for lumbar spondylitis, and especially to the people who have rheumatism and rheumatic complaints, who complain of pain and stiffness in the small of the back, neck region as well, who like the tailors who are suffering, or there may be they have a symptom which is which you can say the symptom of the smicifuga rhythmosa, which is being said is the people who are into piano playing, sewing, and such things, who have affections in the lancinating pains are there. There are sharp pains, and the patient suffers from sharp pain, or after dancing there is soreness, or there is neck issues after dancing, or the spine is sensitive. There is sensitiveness in the spine in cases of simicifuga. Because of ailments usually occur in simicifuga from because of sewing like in tailors, or the people who are usually they're doing desk jobs like typewriting, the typewriting patient, the typewriting people, typewriters, or the people who play piano. I think they have a good simicifuga acts good in such cases. And when you talk about acid pause, yes, it is a very good remedy for this for cases which have stiff back, or there is complaint of pain in the back. But the thing which you should remember in acids, whenever you are using acids, Dr. Dikshit Lakhani, whenever you are using acids, you have a marked prostration which is being seen in acids. So you must notice that there is a marked prostration feeling in the patients of if they are suffering from cervical. So you should note that there is prostration, or there is the pain in the back. When you see about phosphoric acid, the pain they suffer is as if they are beaten, already we have seen in the arnica. They also, phosphoric acid also have that such pain, and the main pain is between the scapular region of phosphoric acid. When you talk about acid pause, this pain occurs in scapular region. There is great durability for all acids. One must remember that you have a good number of you will see that the durability is present in all acids. Another question?
From Smita, there is a question that if somebody is having history of spondylitis in family, and there is how much percentage having spondylitis in future to offspring?
Yeah, Dr. Smita, see, the spondylitis, yeah, inflammation, if it's being seen, if there is a family history of spondylitis, yes, person, the offspring also becomes prone to the affection like arthritis or rheumatoid arthritis or any type of spondylitis which may occur in the patient. Yeah, it has been prone. Exactly figures, so I have not seen the prevalence or the incidence. I would suggest that the percentage exactly I cannot tell, but yes, they become prone. The etiological factor is heredity, and the such offsprings also become prone to spondylitis if they have a family history. A strong family history usually may lead the patient to become spondylitis, suffer from spondylitis. So we have any other questions?
Yes, from Dr. Rahul, there is one question. We know that spondylitis occurs in most of the time due to injury or degeneration of bone. तो पेशेंट
Yeah.
हमसे पूछता है कि कितने दिन तक उसको ट्रीटमेंट लेना है, बिकॉज डीजनरेशन इज अ इरिवर्सिबल प्रोसेस. So what should we suggest in these cases?
Yes, sir. I already was discussing in my presentation as well that the therapeutic aim of a physician is to restore the functions of the functions, whatever function the patient can do properly, like the movements and the movement. There is restricted movement, or there is whenever the patient is suffering from degeneration, so he may have a symptom of stiffness. He may present with restricted movements, or there may be extreme pain which he may suffer due to degeneration. And in such cases, see, if you talk about homeopathy, homeopathy also has some limitations. Like we cannot opt for structural the things which are not reversible. We cannot reverse them, but yes, at that moment what you can do is you can prescribe the patient the constitutional remedy or the remedy which is suiting to the case, that he may not suffer from such symptoms in the near future. If you prescribe the constitutional remedy, so that according to this the symptom totality, obviously the patient won't obviously the patient it would take time for the patient to recover, to become to be treated. But then he'll not he we can what we can do is we can as a therapist, as a doctor, uh, as a doctor, we can ask the patient, we can ask him to recover. We can control his cause, we can control those causes which are affecting him, which are affecting his daily routine, or the symptoms or the cause of the case. If he's into desk job or sitting posture, and we can control that disease progress. We can control that the degeneration which has occurred, it should not go beyond our hands, or it should not progress. Through homeopathy we can do this. Through our symptomatic treatment, we can uh, prevent the progression of the disease. We can preserve the joint function. We can help out so that patient can follow his functions, can do functioning of his joints well, and the muscle strength also can be maintained well.
Doctor, I think Dr. Tamanna wants to ask you a question. I have a
Yeah.
question. Dr. Tamanna, yes, the totality of PSP is a question. The totality Dr. Yashika covered through repertorial chart is not covering all the symptoms.
Yeah.
Even mentals
Yeah,
are not
yeah.
covered. This is clear from mental point
Yeah,
of view.
that is a very good question. Thank you, Dr. Tamanna. I wanted to clear it, and I think I forgot in the during the webinar. Thank you so much. The repertorial chart, whichever symptoms I found characteristic at that moment, I took it into repertorization, synthesis repertory, and then repertorized. The thing is, which you are asking, even mentals were not covered by the repertorial sheet. So I want to confirm that. Please go through Materia Medica by Dr. George Bithulkas. These symptoms, whenever you are prescribing in any case, what I do is I go for repertorization, but I don't depend solely on repertorization. because we need to cross verify each and every remedy and exclude all the possible remedies with the knowledge of materia medica. So you should remember that you cross verify things with materia medica. So when I was searching for all the 7-8 remedies which were the most common remedies in patients of which came in the case, so what I got is the best mental picture which was being covered by conium as per the Kent's Materia Medica as well as Dr. Vithulka's Materia Medica. Dr. Vithulkas has given 13 volumes of his Materia Medica, wherein I think he has mentioned in volume 6, 7 or 8, conium is being mentioned. So I just read it from the, when I was reading. So I read from conium, all such mentals were being covered by conium in that were found in the case. Similar mentals, forgetfulness, dullness, or the superstitiousness was being covered by conium. That is why I selected conium and prescribed it, and that gave me good results. But don't depend solely on repertorization. This I would say you should always cross verify with materia medica to finalize the disease, to finalize the remedy, simillimum remedy.
Right.
Any
So
other
yes,
questions?
any other questions, anybody? Dr. Ajinath, you have raised your hand. Is there any question? I don't think so. Dr. Yashika, thank you. Thank you very much. I think it was a wonderful session, and you have covered all the points of the topic that you wanted to cover. And it was a wonderful participation from all the doctors, all the students. Thank you very much. My name is Ramesh, and I would like to thank each one of you to come and hear about this topic from Dr. Yashika. Dr. Yashika has been very kind enough to give us time and to share her views on this topic. And once again, I have a message that if any of you, if any of the doctors is interested to conduct a webinar on a topic of their choice, you can please contact us at these numbers. That is 9599969785. This is of me, and 9911008190. This is my number. You can send your name and topic, and we will be very happy to have you on board and to conduct the webinar. Dr. Yashika, thank you once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir, for giving me the opportunity to present on your platform. And I would like to thank each and every participant who has been with me today, and being such a patient audience. I'm mentioning my email ID in the chat box. Whoever wants to discuss, whoever wants have any queries or want to discuss, they can contact me on this email ID. And thank you so much, the whole team of Bhargav Phytolab, for giving me the opportunity to present on the on cervical spondylosis.
Dr. Yashika's email ID is Dr. Dr. Yashika, YASHIKA Arora, ARORA @gmail.com, and her number is 7827805347. You can WhatsApp her. She's awake most of the time. Even at 3 o'clock, if she's awake, she'll answer me. Right?
Yeah, I'm always awake. Yeah,
Right.
always in for homeopathy.
Yes. Great,
Yeah.
great, doctor. Thank you very much. Thank you once again. It was nice having all of you. And we would now end this meeting so you all can leave. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone.